Hi, welcome to Mass Communication. I'm Janie Turk, and this is Let's Talk Turkey. Let's get started. Ta-da! You made it here. So if you're watching this video, it means you got into the class and we're ready to get started. And I'm super excited that you're here. So week one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to mostly focus on how the class works, a little bit of content. And our topic this week is going to be, why should I care about media? So we're going to talk about what the class is going to be, and we're going to get you thinking about what it is about mass media that matters to you or should matter to you. Things for you to consider. This week there isn't any assigned reading, but I do want you to acquire your book, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. These videos and our discussion boards, which we call adventures, that's how we're going to do this class. That's going to be the conversations that you and I have. So my part gets recorded a little bit earlier. Your part happens in writing. But I really want you to think about these as conversations that we're going to have together, because that's the way that this is going to be interesting and fun. I want to start by saying that education is, in my opinion, learning the information and then being able to apply it to your life. If it's just memorizing word vomit and passing a test, that's not really education. That's not really learning. So the learning is going to happen when what we do in the classroom makes a difference in how you live your life. So let's start by talking about my policies. And I want to encourage you to go into Canvas and look at that a little bit. I'll get to it a little bit later. But I want to encourage you to download the guidebook, because it's going to have all of the things in there that you need to know. We're going to talk about a few of them today. So first off, how is it that you can contact me? And so my email address is all over in Canvas, but it's turk@siskiyous.edu. Those are my office hours, Mondays and Wednesdays, 12 to 1:40 p.m., and Thursdays, 5 to 6 p.m. But I'm here a lot. So if there's another time that you want to meet with me, I'm happy to do that. Just reach out and ask me, and we can do that. And one of the ways that you can reach out is by sending me a text message. So you've got my cell phone number. Please feel free to use it. It's on here. It's 530-859-1771. And so I hope that you just pause this video, got your phone out, and you're entering that number in your contacts. I'm not going to ask you what you named me. So it's 530-859-1771. And you can also see that I have a URL that I use for all of my Zoom links, whether it's office hours or classroom. And so that's a tiny URL /comms Zoom, with the comms and the Z in capital letters. And so if we ever have an appointment on Zoom, that's how you'll find me. Again, you can find that other places in the syllabus. And my email address is turk@siskiyous.edu. So before we even get started, I want to say there is so much help available to you. I'm available to help you. We have students who are willing to help you in the Academic Success Center. Disabled Students Services is able to help you. There is so much help. Please, if you need help, ask for it early. The earlier we get you help, the more confident you're going to be. So please reach out if you need anything. And my shit happens policy. So other teachers call this their late policy. I call it my shit happens policy, because shit happens. And so when that thing happens, you don't need to panic. Discussion boards, even though I want you to do them on a regular basis during the week, I have them open for a little bit of extra time. Papers I have open for quite a bit extra time. If you need to get something in late, do it. It's better than not doing it at all. However, the later you get it in, the less value it is to you, to your learning process, to the class, and the less time I'll have to give you feedback. So just know those things in advance. And that's my policy. Do your best. It'll be less stressful for you when you can stay on top of it. And when something happens, it's going to be okay. We're going to do a little bit of writing in this class. You're going to be doing discussion boards regularly. You have 4 assignments. You have 2 short essay answer quizzy poos. If you need help with any of that writing, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to the Writing Lab and the Academic Success Center. Yes, they can help you even with the test kinds of things. So if you need help, please seek out that help. However, don't have AI do it for you. Do not, under any circumstances, have AI write your discussion board posts. Yes, I can tell. Everything I'm going to be doing in this class is about application. AI cannot do that for you. The same is true in your papers. It's all about application. And there's things that you can use AI for, grammar, spell check, that's fine. But the ideas, they need to be yours. The thoughts, they need to be yours. And frankly, I'd rather deal with bad grammatical sentences and misspelled words than have to read something that you didn't even write. If you use AI without authorization, you're going to fail the assignment. There are going to be times this semester where I'm going to say, hey, it's okay to use AI for this. And if you do that, then you're just asked to give attribution to it. Just remember that using AI without appropriate attribution and when it's not allowed is academic dishonesty, and that can get you in all kinds of trouble. So please don't. If you've decided that you don't want to be in this course, or if something happens that is too big to deal with this semester and you need to drop, understand that that's your responsibility. So if you need to drop, take care of that, because depending on what point it is in the semester, you could end up with a grade that you don't want instead. And don't ghost me. If there's something going on and you want to have a conversation about it, I'm happy to talk with you about it. But I hope you stay. So let's talk a little bit about navigating Canvas. So once you've logged into Canvas, which is where you found this video, so you got in, I have the class set up, and Canvas calls them modules. So my first module up there is Welcome to AdventureWorks, and it has the things that you need just on a regular basis. So it has the exactly how you get started. It has how the course is set up. It has the first day packet, our guidebook, which has all of the policies, procedures, assignments. It has everything in there, including the schedule. So I would encourage you to download that and take a look at it. I wouldn't encourage you to print it up on your own. I'd go to school and let the school pay for printing it up because it's pretty long. I think it's like 24 pages. So go ahead and get that printed up at the school if you want a hard copy of it. And I would encourage you to do that. And it has how you can do your chapter notes if you're not going to do them on paper and you're going to do them online. So it has some of the basic stuff in there, as well as our very first course setup and guidebook quizzy poo. So this is just to get you some points on the board and make sure that you know how we're navigating the course. The next part in Canvas is our weekly adventures, and this is where the class really happens. So I'll be posting one of these videos every single week. Look at the titles. I hope you're excited about at least some of them, because I totally am. We're going to have a lot of fun. And that's how the class is going to be managed, is through the weekly adventures. And so they will typically, assuming everything goes right in my life, open up on Friday. And I'll be expecting you to post on Wednesdays and by Sundays. So that's how that's going to work. And then below the weekly adventures, we have the great adventures. And these are the big things. These are the major papers and projects we're going to be doing. And of course, the quizzy poos. And if you're wondering why I call them quizzy poos, because when I was in graduate school, I had a teacher who called them that, and his reasoning was pretty sound. His reasoning was, you can't be intimidated by something that's called a quizzy poo. So I agree. And my quizzy poos aren't expected or desired to be intimidating. So hopefully you'll go with me on this journey and have fun with them. And again, like everything else I do, they're all about application. So it's about your life as much as it is about anything else. And finally, at the very end, we have a word that references something extra. So when you get a dozen donuts and you accidentally get 13, that 13th donut is the best tasting one ever. Or you get chicken nuggets and they throw an extra one in there. oh man, it's the extra things in life. So this is where I'm going to be posting extra things as we go through the course of the semester. It might be links to videos I think you'll enjoy. It might be news articles I've seen. So this is where my extra things are going to live. So in Canvas, you're going to see that we're going to start here. We're going to start with the weekly video, like the one you're watching right now, except all of the other weekly videos will be really about course content. This one's a little bit of content and getting you started in the course. We'll talk about the reading. We'll talk about this week's adventure. I'll invite you to join this week's conversation, and I'll leave you with some things to think about to take with you. So let's talk about it. So the syllabus, Quizy Poo, and check sheet is intended for you to uh, take a look at the guidebook, get some information, and for those of you that are really careful about following rules, it is absolutely open note. So take a look at it, go through it. When you start answering the questions, flip through it, find the places for them. I don't expect you to read it and memorize it, and just skim it. Skimming is perfectly fine, just so you know where to find things. So you're going to take a very short quiz, get those questions on the board. The check sheet is going to help you make sure that you're getting everything set up for this first week. So it's telling you to skim the guidebook, complete the Quizy Poo. You could add discussion dates to your calendar, and it's just going to give you some housekeeping kinds of things that will help keep you on track. I encourage you to use the check sheet. So let's talk about media, because media is literally everywhere. So you know what you're watching, what you're consuming. So you might be into TikTok, you might be watching things on Instagram, you might be posting there, WhatsApp, Snapchat, whatever medias you're using a lot of them, right? And some of those things you like, I'm going on my phone, I'm going onto social media, I'm aware that I'm consuming media. But there are lots of times that we're not aware that we're consuming media. You play a game on your phone. Does it have ads? Those ads are also media. The game's media too. In fact, I am creating a game right now with one of my former students. Super excited about it. And yes, it's media. If you are driving down the road and you see a billboard, that's media. If you're watching television, that's media. So I grew up in the era of the 24-hour news cycle. And that just was a brand new thing. It used to be that you only got the news at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. The fact that you can get news all of the time from around the world, everywhere, is both really cool and a little bit terrifying. We're going to spend some time talking about who decides what news you get and what you get to see and what, in fact, is qualified as news. So that's definitely media. The music that you consume. So when we all talk about our Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year, what's yours look like? That's all media that you're consuming. And I love this billboard because we tend to not think about things like billboards as being media that we consume. I love the idea of the QR code, but then it made me realize when I go to the baseball game has all of those signs all around the field. Those are all media. They're all media that we're consuming. And of course, the typical things that we see on television. So when everybody cut the cable and went away from cable that was costing too much money, and then we went to streaming services, and how many streaming services do you have? Because I know that I have more than what cable cost me back in the day. So all of that is media. And we're inundated with it constantly. But we're also inundated with it in ways that are invisible to us. So look around right now. Look around your room. So up on my wall, one of the things up there is a boogie board with a brand label on it. How about things around you? How about what you're wearing right now? Do you have brand labels on your clothes? All of that is media. So we're going to start out the semester by talking about what it is, like we're doing right now. And I'm going to ask you to start tracking it pretty soon. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But part of that is just simply being aware of how much we're consuming. In my podcasting classes, we talk about the fact that there is an insatiable demand for media and that lots of people can make their mark in the world by making a podcast because there are so many hours being consumed every single week. They need content. So we've talked a little bit about what media is all around us, and I want to talk a little bit about what success is going to look like for you in this class. So I know for some of you, success is only when you get the A+. Had a student last semester who did extra credit work even though she already had 100% in the class. Is that you? So I get it. I played the grade game too. And I understand that grades can be important for at least a minute while you're getting scholarships or you're transferring to another college. Success to me looks different though. Success to me is, are you able to take what you're learning in the classroom and use it to make your life better? Because one of my core beliefs is that happy should be easier. And part of what I want you to be able to do is make that happy come easier. One of the studies that I've spent a lot of time with looks at how we can affect your mood by 15 minutes of thumbing through a fashion or weightlifting magazine. And in 15 minutes, we can affect significantly your self-esteem and also your cortisol levels. So I want you to be aware about the media because I want you to do the things that make your life happier. I'm not asking you to change your habit or become a Luddite. I'm asking you just to make choices and give you the power to do that. So success for me is going to be if the class was meaningful for you. And success for me is going to mean, are you able to think about what it is that we're talking about when we talk about all of the things that make up mass media? Okay, chapter notes. So we're going to do a little experiment here. How many of you have had a class that required a book and you never bought the book? You never got the book. You never checked it out of the library. No book and you interaction. Me too. Or how about you bought the book and never opened it? That's happened too. Or you bought the book, you opened it, you read chapter 1, and then the book lived in the back seat of your car on the floorboard underneath the McDonald's wrappers for the rest of the semester. So, for a long time, teachers have said that the way to make students read is to give them quizzes. And that's a carrot and a stick. If you did the reading and you take the quiz, you'll do good on the quiz, and that's the carrot. And if you don't do the reading, you'll do the quiz and you'll feel bad about it because you won't do well. But there's a flaw in that logic. So I'm willing to bet that there's some of you right now who are smugly sitting out there going, I don't do the reading and I always do well on quizzes. Right? Is that some of you? And how about those of you that are like, screw it. No matter how much I do the reading, no matter how hard I try, I suck at quizzes. So I don't think that the quiz link is the good one. So what I've come to is what I call chapter notes. And so what I'm assigning you all of the chapters in the book, and I think this is probably a good time to mention they're not in order. I am assigning you every chapter. I'm hoping that you'll read the whole chapter. But your requirement is only to read enough to do one chapter note. And so that should take you about 5 minutes, because all I really want you to do is interact enough with the book that you know where to find things. And hopefully, when you get intrigued, you'll read more about things that interest you. So, at the end of the semester, you'll be turning in the chapter notes and you'll get that grade. There won't be any weekly quiz things or anything like that. I'm just going to ask you to interact with the chapters every week. Some weeks it'll be 1 chapter, some weeks it'll be 2, some weeks it'll be none. This week, for instance, is a no reading week. So what do I mean by a chapter note? So you're going to start with kind of the the data of it. You're going to put the chapter number and the title of the chapter. And then you're going to flip through the chapter either digitally or in paper. And by the way, I got my download copy for only $20. So shoot me an email if you want the link I used, because that was a lot cheaper than I could find it anywhere else. Not 100% sure it was legal, but they said it was, and I'm not the FBI. So you're going to put the chapter number and the chapter title on there. You're going to flip through and you're going to find a place in the chapter that looks interesting to you and has big, bold print. And that big, bold print is going to be the topic. And you're going to write that topic down. I don't care if it's word for word identical what's in your book. This is not a place where I'm worried about plagiarism because this is coming from the book. So you're going to write down that topic. And then you're going to define it or use it in a sentence or explain it. So, pro tip, you can usually find that definition, the last paragraph in that the last sentence in that first paragraph underneath that big bold print. But this is just to make sure that you know what the topic is, what you're talking about. So, the chapter number and title, the topic, the definition, that's all kind of bookkeeping stuff, making sure you're knowing what we're talking about. The rest of it is where your brain kicks into play, and the rest of it should come directly from you. So, this is a big question for me, and it's a question that I want you to think about for everything you're learning this semester, not just in my class, but in all your classes. And that question is, why should I care? Why does this matter to me? And so this doesn't need to be an essay. A sentence is perfectly fine. But I want you to be thinking about, why is this something that I should be caring about? And I'm going to ask you that over and over and over again this semester because I think it's really important for you to understand if this has meaning to you. The other part is the details. Now, these are going to come from the textbook. They're going to be, oftentimes they're also big and bold, just not quite as big and quite as bold as the topic. Sometimes you got to dig a little bit deeper, but those are going to be the subpoints, if you will, the subpoints of that part of the chapter. Now, if you read it and you know exactly what those words or phrases mean, perfect. Just write those down. But if you don't know what they mean, go ahead and fill in a little more detail there. But chapter notes should be pretty brief overall, and again, should take you maybe 5 minutes to do. So, not a big thing, but don't get behind on them because it's a lot of work to get caught up and not as useful. You can work ahead if you want to. And as I said, this class is all about application. I'm going to be asking you to apply it in the chapter notes by answering the question, why does this matter to me? In the papers and the quizzy poos, I'm always going to be asking you to apply it to your own life and your lived experience. So that's yet another reason why AI doesn't work. And finally, let's talk about the media tracker. So this is not going to be the first assignment you turn in, but it is going to be the first one you start. So for 3 weeks, first week of the semester, the third week of the semester, and the seventh week of the semester, you're going to start tracking your media use. And I want you to track it for at least 3 days out of each one of those weeks. It doesn't need to be the same days. You can randomly choose, hey, today I'm going to pay attention, and keep a little journal. Jot down that you were watching TV, that you were on the road and you were listening to your favorite podcast, that you were driving on the road watching billboards. So try and make note of all of the things that you're doing for at least 3 days for those 3 weeks, weeks 1, 3, and 7. And I would encourage you, again, whip out your phone and put in reminders that you want to do those journal entries on those days. My phone keeps track of the time I spend on it, so that part can be solved for me. But for the time that you're spending on other tools and devices, or again on the open road or at a baseball game, pay attention to the media that you're consuming. We're going to do some analysis of what our consumption looks like. You think you know, I know you do, but I want you to track it anyway. So, our exploration this week, no reading. But I do want you to make sure that you get the book. Like I said, you can email me and I'm happy to share with you the link where I got it online. We have books available in the bookstore, and I think there's a couple on reserve in the library that you can check out. Every week, we're not every week, we're going to have great adventures throughout the semester. And so this week, we're going to start with the syllabus Quizzy Poo and beginning your media tracker. And I would encourage you to use your phone also to remind you to log in to check your media use as those weeks go, because you don't want to forget it and then try and recreate it at the end of the period when we're doing the analysis paper. So my videos are going to be like this. This one was probably longer than many of them will be, kind of depending on the content. And your part of it, your part of the conversation happens a little bit later. So every week's conversation is worth 15 points, and it's got 3 parts. So the first part is always going to be a video reflection. And this is just, I'm using the videos to teach the class, so I want you to interact with them. I want you to tell me something in there, that an idea, a story, a concept, an example, a question, anything at all about the video. You can even comment on the fact that my hair looks weird today. That's cool. When I first started recording the very first version of this video, I had to stop because I started recording and my soundboards fell off and hit me on the head. And so I started over. So I don't care if it's something trivial or something significant, big thoughts, but talk to me about the video. Part 2 is to start talking with your classmates. So this week, I want to know something about you. I want to know something about you. It doesn't need to be deep. You do not have to like reveal your guts to us. It doesn't need to be personal. It doesn't need to be weird. In fact, I have some trauma over some of the things students have shared in the past. So don't be the class that gets me fired. Try and keep my trauma to a minimum and share something that you want to share that's not going to, traumatize us. One semester, we were sitting around in the classroom, and one of my students is like, ooh, I'll go first. And she's like, I'm pregnant with her husband's baby. And the other woman looked shocked, horrified, burst into tears, raced out of the classroom. And I'm like, what just happened? So don't do that. And then I want you to tell us a couple of other things. Why are you taking the course? Please don't tell me because you need the units. Give me just a little tiny bit of something that maybe is a reason to take the class. And I want to know what forms of media occupy the most time in your life. And that's going to be really useful for me going forward because I can talk about some of those things in more detail. I would love to know what one thing you hope to learn this semester. It doesn't have to be huge, but I would love to know something that you'd like to learn. Again, so I can teach it to you. I want to know what one strength is that you bring to this online classroom. And if you're brand new to this and you're not sure that you have any strengths, bring your enthusiasm, bring your curiosity, or just say you need help. That's fine too. And I want to know what media platform, technology, or communication tool has had the greatest impact on your life and why. So when we get towards the end of the semester, we're going to be talking about some platform options. And I was thinking about it, and I almost included dating apps. But then I decided that had a huge potential to go wrong, so I didn't. But if a dating app has introduced you to the love of your life, you could talk about that. If you have made a career out of things you're doing online, you could talk about that. In fact, way back, I don't know, 26 years ago, I went to work for one of the world's largest .coms. And it definitely changed my life and introduced me to my husband. So, whatever technology media platform has changed you, I'd love to hear about it. And then the conversation continues. Now, I want to be really transparent with you. I am not counting words. I am not going through and saying, you should have had 150 words this week and you only had 47. We're adults. I know that if I give you word counts that you're just going to try and shove shit in there. I don't want that. I want us to have conversations. So I want you to respond thoughtfully every single week to at least two classmates. I don't want to be forced to have to count words. I don't want to be forced to try and make it some artificial thing. I want it to be a conversation. And conversations are always encouraged. So, as you continue this journey, this adventure this week, a couple things I want you to think about. Every great adventure begins with a single step. This week, don't try to change your media habits. Just notice them. Awareness is the first step towards understanding, and understanding gives us choices, and choices give you power. So notice, take your power back. And in case no one said it today, I love you. I'm really glad you're here. You belong here. We're going to do this together. This has been Let's Talk Turkey with Janie Turk, and I'm glad you're here.